Welcome back, everyone. Another episode of Coffee with the Commish special NBA Wednesday edition. We're going to take a look at this matchup between the Cavs and the Celtics tonight at 7:30 on ESPN. Celtics, as of right now, 5-point favorites. They own the second best record in the Eastern Conference. Cavs, obviously 5-point underdogs in this spot. They're sitting down there in the 4 seed in the Eastern Conference standings as of this moment. Bringing on a guest to this show tonight, not someone that you're probably familiar with, but a friend of mine. He one of the sharpest basketball minds that I know personally. He worked with the Holy Cross University in their doing analytics for them, help implement their playbook. He's coached a number of basketball players on their mechanics as a shooting coach. So, gonna bring in my guy Joe here. Welcome him to the show and get his thoughts. How you doing, man?
I'm
Appreciate you.
doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm excited to get your thoughts on this one. Like we talk a lot about the NBA, and this is a great matchup, right? You got my Cavaliers against the Boston Celtics. The Cavs have had some success against the Celtics so far this season. I want to know, man. We have all this star talent. We have Garland, right? We have Marcus Smart, Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, all of these guys, right? It's no surprise that both of these teams are in the top 4 in the Eastern Conference. But what are you looking at specifically in this spot if you had to single out a couple of key matchups for people to watch?
Yeah, totally. So this game is definitely a strength versus strength game. So Boston is scoring their fourth in points per game this season, while Cleveland is allowing the fifth least points per game this season. Cleveland's won both matchups this year, like you said. They've had some success against Boston, but the biggest matchups that I see are Marcus Smart versus Darius Garland. Obviously, another strength versus strength thing. Marcus Smart being one of the best defenders in the league, and Darius Garland being able to score the ball at a very high rate. The next one that I have is Jaylen Brown versus Donovan Mitchell. I love this matchup because of both of their motors. They're both high efficient scorers. Jaylen Brown scoring 26.5 points per game. Donovan Mitchell scoring 27 points per game. Very similar talent. The biggest thing that I see is how Donovan Mitchell will be able to exploit some of the weaknesses that Jaylen Brown has in his defensive game, which is a huge thing to look at. The next one that I have is Jayson Tatum versus Isaac Okoro. So Tatum is averaging 30 points per game this season. He's 6'8". He's an MVP candidate. Boston's the number 2 seed in the East, all because of Jayson Tatum. Isaac Okoro, he's a good defensive player, but I like seeing Jayson Tatum exploiting him. He's only Isaac Okoro is only 6'5". Jayson Tatum, I think that because of the past 2 games of him being kind of on the back end of scoring, Jaylen Brown's done more of the workload. I like seeing Jayson Tatum kind of going off in this game, especially at home in Boston. They haven't beat the Cavs yet. There are huge playoff implications. They don't want to stay in the 2nd seed. They want the home game advantage in the playoffs. So I love seeing Jayson Tatum kind of going off and coming back to his old form that we saw pre-All-Star break. So,
Man, you can't tell me that Okoro's going to struggle defensively tonight, because that's the one thing that we know that he can do well, or at least we like to think that he can do well.
yeah.
Joe, talk to me. So that this Garland matchup, I mean, really the Cavs backcourt, right, against the Celtics, because the Celtics are a strong defensive team as well. I know you mentioned the Cavs being elite on the defensive end of the floor, but the Celtics have been really tough too. And we can pull up props.cash right here. Garland, his over-under on his points sitting at 21.5. Mitchell over-under 25.5. Do you have a preference? Both of these guys going against tougher defenders, right, with Smart and Jaylen Brown, even if, I know you're not as high on Jaylen Brown as a lot of people are, which I would tend to agree with you. Do you like one of these guys in the player prop market tonight? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, totally. I love Darius Garland over 21.5. He scored 29 points against the Celtics earlier this season. He wasn't able to play in their first matchup, but I really do love Darius Garland. He's been averaging more than 21 points per game in the past 5 games. He's a high efficient scorer. And again, playoff implications, your best players are going to step up. And I believe that Darius Garland is going to be that guy for Cleveland if they want a chance to beat Boston.
Yeah, definitely an interesting spot for him, averaging 22.5 during the month of February before the calendar flipped. And been interesting to watch him too, because you can throw the filter on here and you can see what has he been doing on the road. And for the season, right, only a 41% hit rate to the over at this number. But as of late, been playing really good basketball, taking on more of an aggressive approach at that end of the floor, eclipsing this number in 8 of his last 9 games. Let's go on the other side of this matchup. And again, like you just picked on Okoro. How high is the number going tonight for Tatum? You can get him over under 27.5 points. I would assume that you're going over in this spot, even after a couple of lower scoring games as of late. What would you advise people who are looking to bet on him this evening?
Yeah, so I do like Jayson Tatum over 27.5 this game. Like you said, he hasn't been hitting. His past 2 games haven't been that great, but because Boston has fell to the 2nd seed, the Boston Celtics are thinking a completely different thing. Milwaukee's been really hot, and it's time for Boston to get hot too. And the only way that they're going to get hot is for Jayson Tatum to start stepping up and playing like he was before the All-Star break. So I really do like Jayson Tatum over 27.5. Obviously, Isaac Okoro is a great defender, but sometimes good defense loses to better offense. And so I really do like Jayson Tatum over 27.5.
Yeah, especially in the modern NBA, right? The rules are set up for offensive players to thrive and defensive players to fail. I think it's worth pointing out too, like Tatum's had a couple of bad, quote unquote, bad games in a row, right? 18 points and 14 points respectively. Definitely not Jayson Tatum-esque the way that we're used to seeing him go out there and dominate, but only 41% against the 76ers, only 33% against the Knicks, both of those games being on the road. Coming back home tonight, Jayson Tatum, it's been a spot that he's thrived this season, right? It's got really good home and away splits for this matchup, right? Averaging over 31 a game on his home floor this season. We can run it back to props.cash, and if you put this filter on home, you can see that he's eclipsed this 27.5 number in 23 out of 29 home games. So I think that's a good read on your part. Hurts me a little bit because I would like to think that Okoro could play a little bit better defense tonight, but I cannot disagree with you. Anything else that you're looking for in this matchup? I know we're talking more on an individual player basis right now. Like anything that you're looking at from like a more macro perspective, looking at the second unit or like the side or the total in this game?
Yeah, so totally. Malcolm Brogdon in his past 5 games has been averaging over 20 points a game. So I really do like Malcolm Brogdon hitting the over on 12.5 tonight. Malcolm Brogdon is going to be that reason that I believe that the Celtics are going to win. Obviously, aside from Jayson Tatum. Aside from all of that, the Celtics, they've just got depth. I mean, they've got Derek White, Sam Hauser, Grant Williams, Mike Muscala, who was just recently acquired from OKC. They've got Blake Griffin, who doesn't get that many minutes, even though I believe he should be getting some. The Celtics are scoring 40% of their points from the 3-point line. And all of those players that I just mentioned, who are all coming off of the bench, they're all scoring they're all scoring threes at a very high percentage. So I really do like the Celtics' depth. I love their defense off the bench. And, just a second team being that overwhelming, where a few of these guys you could argue could start for half of the NBA. It just makes me really like Boston over Cleveland tonight. So
does it make you like him enough to take him on the spread? -5?
I think so. Yeah. I think Boston's gonna beat Cleveland quite handily. I know you hate hearing that since you're a big Cavs fan, but at Boston, high stake game. I'm taking Boston in this one.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think my look on this game, I'm looking at the over 218.5, and I think one of the reasons that it factors into that read for me a lot is the fact that Cleveland's a totally different team when they're on the road, right? Like they've been dominant at home this season, which has helped them ascend to the 4th spot in the Eastern Conference standings, but only 13 and 18 on the road this year. Their offensive and defensive efficiency both regress in those spots. On their home floor, the Cavs are averaging 116 points per 100 possessions, only allowing 107. When they go on the road, their offensive efficiency drops by about 3 points per 100 possessions, and the defensive efficiency regresses by about 5 points. A couple of things that have been sustainable throughout the entire year with the Cavs. If you look at them at home, 5th in opponent field goal percentage. They're not great defending the perimeter anywhere, but they're respectable around league average defending the 3-point line at home. They do a really, really good job of defending without fouling at home, allowing the second fewest opponent free throw attempts per game in their home building. When they go on the road, they go from 5th to 14th in opponent field goal percentage, 18th to 25th in opponent 3-point percentage, and 2nd to 12th in opponent free throw attempts allowed per game. So I think you're going to see the Celtics score a decent amount with the clock stop tonight at the free throw line. I think, like you said, Boston's got a lot of shooters, especially in that second unit. So I think you're going to see Boston find a way to exploit the perimeter tonight against the Cavs. Garland and Mitchell, far from an elite backcourt from a defensive perspective. So I think this game goes over, especially with Jaylen Brown back in the lineup, with Marcus Smart back in the lineup. Like, Boston's got all their big guns, right? So if you're telling me that Tatum's going to be able to take advantage of Okoro, and then Jaylen Brown's back, Marcus Smart, the whole band is back together, I think Boston, they rank 4th in offensive efficiency this year on their home floor, scoring a ton of points. So for me, I like Boston to get the job done on the money line. I don't know if I like them enough to take the spread. I don't know if that's just my heart talking to me and telling me that this game is going to be close, but I do think this game finds a way to go and hit the over 218.5.
Totally. Yeah.
Well, man, I appreciate you joining me. I know we're breaking down the Pelicans and the Trailblazers as well tonight on the channel. So if you guys are interested in that, please go check that out as well. That game doesn't tip off until 10 p.m. Eastern, also on ESPN. But Joe, appreciate you joining me, man, and hopefully we'll have you back on quite frequently in the coming weeks.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.